in what I call a moment of no time. At one point, I'm in my body, and at the next point, I'm in this tunnel. And I don't remember going to the tunnel. It was just, now I'm in my body, now I'm in the tunnel. And in the tunnel, I'm warm, I'm happy, I can breathe again. I'm just filled with the joy and unconditional love. It was so stark. It was such a change from complete terror to complete ultimate ecstasy in a minute of no time. And I'm just so completely happy. I look down and I can see a body, and I'm saying, it's funny, I can see that because it was dark down there. And I look and, yep, that's my body. I don't care. And I didn't care. At the moment that I saw my body at the bottom of the lake, I didn't care about my life. I didn't care about being on Earth because I knew I was home. And then I turned in the other direction. And now I'm looking at a spot of light. And the light is not very big, but it is so bright it should be burning my retinas like a magnet, like a giant magnet. And the magnet's pulling me through the tunnel. And I'm starting to get closer to the light. And then all of a sudden, in a moment of no time, I'm no longer in the tunnel. Now I'm in the middle of a giant sphere about the size of a soccer coliseum, huge. And I'm hovering in the middle of this ball, in the inside of the ball. And around it, all 360 degrees, everywhere I look, are little motion picture screens of all of my lives and of all of the things that I'm doing. And I start to communicate about all of these events in all of my lives. And I could see them all, and nothing was confusing. I understood everything. I could understand all the lifetimes. I could understand all the things I did. And when I would focus on any one particular screen, I would relive it. Only now, as I'm reliving it knowing the feelings and the effect that I had. And then all of a sudden, the light says to me, Andy, you have to go back. I said, whoa, no, you got the wrong guy. I'm not going back. And the light says the second time, Andy, you're going back. And I said, didn't you hear what I said? There's no reason for me to go back to that planet. I'm home. And the light says to me the third time, Andy, you're going back. And when I heard the word back, the K in back, I felt myself being stuffed back into my body. The most horrible feeling that I can ever imagine. Just as the most exhilarating experience I could ever imagine was when I left my body back and went back into the light. The most horrible one that I've experienced was going back into my body. I didn't want to be there. I still don't want to be here. But I'm doing what I'm going to do. So
the screen had 3 columns. On the left was my life as I had planned it just before I was born. The middle column were all the conditions that came to me during my 26 years of life in order to help me accomplish what I had planned. Third column looked as though someone had created a stamp. And the stamp said, objective not accomplished. Objective not accomplished. It's scrolling very slowly. And I'm looking at the objectives that were set, and I'm like, how could I have been so stupid? I spent my energy and my time accumulating stuff that had nothing to do with the plan that I came with. And as I'm looking at that, I could see why I attracted the people I attracted into my life. Some of whom were very positive and very loving and very caring. Others were there as challenges. And one of the most amazing thing about that is, particularly one person in my life who I considered very negative at the time and very challenging, was really someone who really lived with me in another lifetime, loved me dearly, and figured out that love was never going to allow me to get it. So in this lifetime, that person made a determination that they would devote their life to irritating me, to finally get me to where I needed to be. So it was very interesting, and the screen came to a stop. And I was one of those young people living this Christian life with a lot of questions from the Bible. At age 9, 10, 12, I had these phenomenal questions. And so the one question that popped into my mind, now I'm standing there on the screen is completely blank, and the question that popped into my mind was, he, meaning Christ, said, I came so you can have life and have it more fully. What did he mean by that? And no sooner I asked that question, the screen began to re-scroll. And now I am at the Akashic record. At that time, I did not know what it was, which is the record of everything that has happened, everything that has a potential to manifest itself into the world. And I'm now looking at the Akashic record, and now they have taken 6 past lives and dumped it into the one that I just read. And the screen starts to scroll, and now it's a whole different preview. I am looking at myself, living in times when there was darkness on the earth, and people walked around with torches. I watched myself as a woman and what it meant to be a woman in those days, and hundreds of souls. And I knew that during many lifetimes I had lived and interacted with them, that we had something in common. And the something that we had in common was this thing called love. And they're on the other side of this river, and they're beaming this phenomenal amount of love. And as they beam the love to me, I can see that love turns into light. And so they're beaming all this amazing amount of light to me. And then my aunt, who was the most recent person who had died in my family, she stepped into the water and indicated to me to come. So I stepped into the water and I'm moving towards her and she's moving towards me. And then just as we're getting ready to that spot where we can hug each other, she stopped and she looked at me and she says, I'm so sorry, but they're sending you back. And I said, why? I don't want to go back. And she says, no, they're sending you back. And I said, why? And she says, well, they want to send you back with a message. And I said, there are millions of people back there. They can find someone there and give that person the message. You see what I mean? And they said, no, it's a message we'd like for you to take back with you. But there is more to life than meets the eye, and life is eternal. Now, with that piece of instruction, I suddenly found myself falling. I mean, I can experience the falling. And the moment when I crashed into my body, even though I was under heavy anesthesia, I felt the incredible pain. And it was like moving from this place of extreme love and joy and happiness and peace, and then to instantly hit the body. Excruciating pain. And that led to 3 years of serious depression because I did not want to be here. I wanted to be able to return to that place where I had experienced such amazing love and purity and joy, and where you asked the question and you got the answer in a knowingness, not necessarily with words, but in a knowingness. Now, I crashed back into my body. They had me in a small room in a hospital, and they had years of serious depression because I did not want to return. And I had no way of knowing how I could re-enter this beautiful, beautiful space that I had experienced. And that's what drew 8 teachers into my life. So that eventually I was able to get out of my body and travel dimensionally. Now, I did not speak about my experience for 15 years because in the 60s, you didn't go around. There was no name for it. And I was very acutely aware that if I talked about it, they'd probably put me in a mental institution. So I did not speak about it for 15 years until my mother was dying. When my mother was dying, I wanted her to know that she was going to a beautiful place and that there was no need for fear. And for the very first time,
Maybe you have a perspective on this. Why is it that we can't remember what we planned for our lives when we get here? And it seems to be so easy for us to get off track.
Earth is a very low vibration. Mm-hmm. And we have descended into a low vibration. To help you to understand that, think about having an old-fashioned radio. You know, there's an old-fashioned radios. And it was very, very limited in bandwidth. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And so if you wanted, like, for example, I was born and raised in Guyana, South America, a third world country at the time. If you wanted to catch a station in England or America, it was almost impossible. There wasn't enough bandwidth, and the frequency was too low to be able to connect to that level. Got that? Now, when we are born, because since then I have had the opportunity to actually watch my last child design his lifetime while he was in spirit, put the plan in place, then get born. And my youngest child is now 35 years of age, and I have watched him live exactly what he planned, right out to him getting married last year. We drink the cup of forgetfulness when we are about to be born, because if we don't, all that information will be in the way. You see, and we take it for granted that we can use our hands, we can use our minds, we can walk, we can talk. But that's phenomenal stuff that we have to relearn once we enter the earth. So we drink the cup of forgetfulness so we can master the things that we have to master. For example, while we are still babies in the womb, we have to master the art of building bones. If I'm walking with all that memory, I mean, I only saw 7 lifetimes. If I'm walking with all that memory in my head, it would distract me from the basic things that have to be accomplished in order to live on Mother Earth. And so we file it away at different levels. Some of it has been filed in the super consciousness level, where if we build our vibration, follow me, and we build a vibration higher, then we can access that information. If we do nothing about lifting the vibration, then access of that information becomes difficult.
I remember you talking in a previous interview about how you tried to return a couple times, and I don't remember the details of that, except that they kept sending you back. Is that something that you'd like to share about?
I'm so glad you asked that question. When I first returned, the first 3 years I was seriously depressed. I attempted suicide 3 times. And then I got depressed because I couldn't kill myself. So at that point, I'm like, well, and then they They hauled me back upstairs, as I call it, in the dream state. And I met with, there were 9 beings, and they told me they were a council of 9. And they told me quite categorically that if I continued to this effort of trying to take my life, what I thought was a very difficult way to live with this knowledge that I had, they would just, when I get to the other side, slam me back into a baby's body with the consciousness that I had. And if I thought I had problems, I would really experience some serious problems, because they'd slam me back into a baby's body with full memory. And that would be an almost impossible situation to live by. Between them, they held my hand and they took me through self-discovery. And they took me to this place that made me understand, Norma, you're not a Guyanese. You're not an American. You're not British. All of whom, you belong to the kingdom of God. You belong to the kingdom of oneness. If you have a problem with the word God, you belong to the kingdom of oneness. This is who you are. And your birthright is love. And when you can embrace that, then and only then can we allow you the freedom to travel. But for as long as you kind of link to this low vibrational human thinking that human nature is it and all there is to it, you can't be allowed to travel.
And how I got there in the first place, the only thing I could come up with is that I'd been raised Catholic, and I was always taught from day one, only very, very, very good saints go straight to heaven. The rest of us go to purgatory. Purgatory is like hell, except you get out. They even had, things you could do to prepare for your purgatory. You could say extra prayers, and then you would get a certain number of days off your purgatory sentence. If you said a rosary, you got 300 days off if you went to extra mass. I mean, I did a lot of that stuff, and I thought it was all math. I must have screwed up somewhere, I didn't say enough prayers to offset, the things that I did that were wrong. And that's what happened. It took a long time for me to get the courage to say to people, because they thought I didn't, the doctor said I couldn't remember anything that happened. And then when I started saying, well, yeah, I kind of had this bad experience. Oh my gosh. And my mom came up with, well, Kathy, what did you do to go to hell? What have you done that we don't know? So now all the shame is put on me, because there's no good answer to that. Right. I just clammed up. Taught my whole life I would go here to this place. The rest of you, I'll go up and are immediately shuffled into heaven. You get a life review. You get to see your entire life, start to finish, and then they flip this film around, and then you get to experience how that was to interact with you. And you get to feel, the pain when you've been nasty to somebody, the joy when you've been kind to someone. There's no judgment. It's just a realization that because you planned your life, I've learned that. We all start off in heaven. We plan the challenges, the things we want to learn. I want to learn to be empathetic. I want to learn whatever it is. We plan our lives around that to have experiences that will allow us that. And then it's earth school. And when we die, we go home. We get the life review. We get to see how we did. But nobody's punished. There's no God there. There's no St. Peter there to condemn anyone. So I needed to tell people I manifested that experience. You can do that. If your family and your culture and your religion teach you something, it gets so ingrained and you so believe it, you can manifest that. So my advice is to say God is all loving, all forgiving, and would never condemn anybody. And God said to be loving and kind, merciful, forgiving, encouraging, grateful, non-judgmental, and useful. And the useful for me was the hardest one to say, well, what does that mean? But it means find your purpose. You planned a purpose to come down here. And once you find it, it's wonderful. I had to really look at my religion. I'll tell you. I thought, wait a minute, something's wrong with this picture. I'm not trying to change anybody. I mean, everybody's, their own religions and feelings are what they chose to come down. And it's not my job to dispel that. But if there's people out there that like me kind of going, I'm having a little trouble wrapping my mind, or, there's a lot of that deconstruction, religious deconstruction going on now. So those people are looking for answers. And I can just give my experience, and whatever they take from it, if it's helpful, great. But if you're really, entrenched and enjoy with your religion, the only caveat I would say is it's a real clue if your religion is saying if you don't believe in X like we do, you're going to hell. It's supposed to be the planet of the lowest density. Only the brave souls come here. And they come here to live in this kind of world. Like somebody asked me, why would somebody choose to come down and be in a Korean prison camp? I don't know. Ask him when you get home. For some reason, people do. And for me, it changed me because I had gotten into the thing of being a victim. Shit kept happening in my lives. And I'd say, God, why are you doing this to me? I pray and all this, and you keep doing this stuff to me. Now I don't do that. I say, gee, Kath, what did you planned that. There must be a reason. Mm-hmm. Now sit down, take a couple deep breaths, and let's think about it. Mm-hmm. So no more victimhood. That's very much a positive thing. And it's all going to work out okay. I don't care how bad the situation looks. You've figured out a way to learn something, and that's the point. So it changes the whole way